Hello and welcome to the How Quality Management Principles and Systems Further Organizational Success and Create a Competitive Advantage track panel discussion. My name is Dr. Connie Whitten, and I am BAOM core faculty with the Ford School of Business and Technology, UAGC, and I'm the host for this session. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and shared with the TLC related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. We have enabled the live transcription. If you would like to use it, click on live transcription button at the bottom of your Zoom window. The panel members for this discussion are Brian Allward, Associate Director of Academic Operations, UAGC, Cassie Hurst, Senior Manager, Faculty and Data Systems, UAGC, Brandy Havens, Assistant Professor, Ford School of Business and Technology, UAGC, Sarah Corpy, DEI Director and Academic Planner, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Rich Frazee, Instructor, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Imad Rahim, Associate Faculty Member, Forbes School of Business and Technology, and a Principal Consultant at Inclusive 360 LLC, and a very special welcome to James Nate Thaxton and Mirage Simpson, both students at the University of Arizona Global Campus and distinguished panel members. Our moderator for this session is Mr. Bill Davis, Lead Faculty and Assistant Professor with the Forbes School of Business and Technology at UAGC. Now, please welcome our distinguished panel and enjoy their informative conversation.
Thank you very much, Connie. And I'd like to say that I am very excited here. You know, I've got great enthusiasm and I am eager to get going here. You know, now any discussion format I've ever led, you know, the advice that people have given me in my career is start strong. Let me tell you that I really was happy when this panel idea was accepted when I submitted it to Teresa, because I really believe in quality. I think you have to have quality service, quality products. You know, without quality, you don't sustain. And I have to tell you, the presentations that I've seen here today have just blown me away. And I, you know, I see everyone connecting the dots, the content is transferred, but the most important thing, and I give Teresa Couric and her team a lot of credit for this, is they wanted to tie a learning theory to the panels, to the presentations. I think that's a wonderful idea. Here's why. When I started teaching, I knew what I knew and I know what I didn't know. And I said, I have to learn something. So I grounded my teaching approach on active learning theory, Bonwell and Eisen. So that became a natural insertion for me, the process of doing and observing dialogue with self and others. What's going to occur in here is a lot of active learning. So let me start strong here. Edward Deming's philosophy of quality management suggests, and this is what the what is posted in the TLC, it's central to the effective operation of production and service systems. Meanwhile, Bonwell and Eisen's 1991 active learning theory suggests that quality learning occurs when learners work collaboratively. That's what we're doing here, to discuss materials, tools, methods, technology, systems. We got everything here. We got a very diverse group. All organizations, including institutions of higher ed, are dynamic. That means they're always in motion, right? They're always changing. They're not static. They're adjusting to changing environments. And active learning must happen within quality management systems, because I've learned from all of you. I'm going to learn something today. It's a constant interplay, a constant exchange, and I cannot tell you how good that feels. And Jesus, I see you sitting out there, and I want to just throw you a quick kudo, because I mentioned you when Brian and Cassie presented. You've been great for me for their faculty portal, so thank you. But I want to tell you that these environments are dynamic, and this panel is going to explore the connections between the principles of quality management and active learning theory toward achieving high educational inputs. Now, let me just go for some universal principles of quality management. I thought we'd start there, and I'll give it to the panelists. And if you could keep your answers, you know, not short, but maybe a few minutes or so, And then just if anyone wants to respond to that, I'll facilitate with easy questions: who, what, when, where, how, why, open-ended, so that you can say, here's the way we're applying quality. Here's why. Here's the reasons. Here's what I do for a living. You know, for example, when I was in the PepsiCo business, real simple. Service means sales. When we go see a customer, remember, we want to differentiate from our competition. We don't want to just be good. We want to wow. We want them to go, they are that good. Now, that's just my thinking in terms of my career, but relate it any way you'd like, because we have an audience here on the Whova app, in the room here, and realize they're watching us. They're listening to us. They're going to be active learning with us. So give it your very best. I know you will. I'm so proud of all of you, and you excite me to be here. So let's talk a little bit about the 8 universal principles: customer focus, leadership, people involvement, process approach, systematic approach to management, continual improvement, factual approach to decision making. I'm going to start with you, Brandy Havens. Can you tell me, you know, from your presentation, how do some of these principles of quality apply to what you presented today and what your topic was?
I think a good starting point is really the customer focus, because as you said, that's really the core of the business. And I think when we think about, what we do in facilitating and providing these courses, our customers are not only the students themselves, but they're ultimately the organizations and the companies that are going to ultimately employ them. And I think one of the things that I always keep in mind, when I'm developing the courses, in most lines of business, you focus on customer wants. It's all about what the customer wants. But I think for us, when you're looking at education, we have to think not just what the customer wants, but really what the customer needs. And in our case, the customer doesn't always know what they need. A lot of times we may know more what they need or are going to need when they get out in the workforce. And so it's really, really important that we focus on catering not just to their wants, which may be, to have something that's engaging and, something that keeps them interested in the material, but we have to really make sure that we're delivering a product that's going to serve them well when they either get into the workforce or as they're trying to advance through the ranks in the workforce.
Excellent, Brandy. And you demonstrate leadership there. That's one of Deming's 14 points. And also on-the-job training. Can anyone tell me, Sarah and Rich, you just presented, how do you do on-the-job training, which is a very important part of, in the Ideal organization? You gave a talk on not-for-profits. What does that look like in your organization, on-the-job training?
The first thing that comes to mind is just giving people opportunities, just give them a chance to connect. And also, one of the Deming key points, drive out fear, which reminds me of a great book by Joshua Eiler, How Humans Learn, where we have to allow failure. So much there's this fear of like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. You have to give people opportunities where they're going to get their hands a little dirty and they might trip and they might slip, and like, that's okay, because that's how we improve, by getting out of our comfort zones and trying new things.
Very nice. Sarah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think one thing that we do really well in the nonprofit organization, Ideal, is that we really connect people who are stepping up to opportunities with the resources they need to be successful in those opportunities. So like just-in-time training. We need someone to post something on LinkedIn. Great, I'm going to send you a request to post on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you instructions with screenshots of where to click, how to do it, which order to do it, and I'll give you like an example of the type of verbiage you maybe could use. And then I'm going to encourage you to take that and customize it, personalize it, make it your own. So we really like to give people models that they can follow, really easy instructions. And then for roles like president, we offer a mentor. So someone who was president is going to mentor someone who is president. Someone who was treasurer is going to mentor someone who is treasurer.
Very, very nice, Sarah. Very nice. And I've seen you in action many times, and I I really like the approach you use. I do, we do, you do. You know, you've done that with so many situations, and obviously quality is emerging because the leadership continues to improve, results happen, and all those inputs come in and good outputs come out. Dr. Ahmad, you have done some amazing things in your lifetime, in your career, helping others, paying it forward. Can you tell me how you continue to develop continuous improvement in all these organizations that you're involved in? And, you know, how does quality play into all of that?
Well, I think first off, it's important to to categorize many of the people that teach at our universities and a lot of non-traditional schools as scholar practitioners, right? That they have to be updated in what's happening in the world professionally and personally. They need to know what's happening in their community, but they need to know what's happening in the business world, what's happening in the nonprofit sector, what's happening in the government. So if they're teaching about policy, they should be updated in regards to what's happening in policy. What are the current events, right? If they're talking about economics, they need to know what's happening in regards to the recession, in regards to what the Fed is doing, right? Because all students are also professional students, not in a sense of being full-time students, but they are professional workers and going to school at the same time. So they expect real world content that is updated. So if students are expecting that, it's important for faculty to also expect that in themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Ahmad. And you know, I've seen you in action many, many times, and I'm just amazed, and continue a great work. Brian and Cassie, I'd like to ask you, you know, you just implemented a whole new faculty development system, a huge undertaking. There's a long continuum with that. You've managed that through the process, good concurrent controls, et cetera. You know, how are you going to continue going forward, you know, to apply some of Deming's 14 points like continuous improvement and adopt a new philosophy? What does that look like for you?
I mean, we've got a lot of different approaches with regards to continuous improvement. I know Cassie and I presented on some of the approaches with we're building out work groups, leveraging people across all the departments within the institution to try to make sure that we're able to get effective feedback and perspectives for, you know, what the impact is on each department individually and how we're able to kind of maximize the portal as it's leveraged within those departments. You know, we're continuing to find new ways to build out the system, you know, kind of taking in that feedback, trying to make adjustments or make it even more effective for whether it's, you know, my team in particular, administrative team, the faculty members that are leveraging it, and try to make it as you know, as clean a product and able to kind of meet the needs of our end users as much as possible. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Cassie, anything to add to that? Any points you'd like to make? One point I'd like to make to you is you are my go-to person, and now so is Jesus when I'm stuck on something in your portal, and your service is through the roof. I mean, it's always a wow, you know, to me. So I always walk away a little bit better than I was before. So, but can you tell me a little bit about how all that, you know, leadership and people involvement and how that whole on-the-job training works when there are people like myself that might get stuck?
Absolutely. I think typically we really try to take a collaborative approach when training faculty and staff alike. We really want to ensure that total employee involvement by encouraging cross-functional collaboration. We really empower our faculty and staff to share their experiences and give us that feedback that we can then take back and evaluate and make the meaningful and effective improvements to our systems and our processes, and including the services that we provide. I think really that feedback is some of the most important tools that we can use to really measure our success. So that's kind of what we try to gear everything. I think collaboration is really just key in focus for our work.
Well, Cassie, I have to tell you one thing that, you know, when I'm in need, and I decide that I need to knock on someone's door because I might need a little coaching, first thing that I'm looking at is on the camera is their face. I'm listening to their tone and I'm looking at their body language. Are they setting the right environment for me to learn and grow or connect to something? And I want to tell you, Jesus, Brian, Heather, your entire team is just incredible. And and you lead with care. So I appreciate that. And I think from a service side, not only the product you're making here with the faculty portal and the processes, but from a customer service, customer care standpoint, it's amazing to watch. So continue it. And now I'm going to go to two of the students that have joined in here, and I'm so grateful that they're here, Mirage Simpson and Nate Thaxton. And I just have to tell you, hello, Mirage. I have to tell you that they really impressed me and I believe I had them in the Business 202 course, the Roger Love course, the speaking course, and they just knocked it out of the park. And when you have a wow moment, you go, boy, they are great, outstanding presenters. I'm going to remember their names. I email them, I call it, hey, would you present on my panel? Thank you both for being here today. Mirage, here's my question. You love supply chain management. Your passion is incredible. Deming has a wheel here where he talks about for quality, the plan, identify the problem, develop the plan improvement, the do, implement the plan on a test basis, then measure it, check, make sure it's working, and then act, institutionalize it and involve it in the cycle. Can you tell me, with the presentation you made, how important is that step and how do you see it applied?
It's difficult for me to say which step is most important because they are all integral to making sure that the success of the implementation is flawless. If you don't measure something properly, then you're going to see problems with the planning, with the implementation, with the action. But it's crucial that everyone be on the same page as far as what is your end goal? What are you measuring for? What are you planning to do? That makes it then easier to identify how you'd like to move forward, how you'd like to act, and create a cohesiveness throughout the rest of the process.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And I could just see your passion and your detail when I listen to you present the presentation that I believe you presented here today in the Business 202, because it was incredible. Nate, you had a fantastic presentation too. Could you maybe tell the group a little bit about yourself and how that whole Deming wheel would apply to what you were presenting?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just kind of talk through my experience. So I've been an executive assistant for the last 2 decades, and just the fact that that role in itself, and I know all roles have evolved, but I feel like that role that I've been a part of over the last 2 decades have really evolutionized into something completely different. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight later today was how technology has driven that evolution and the importance and the benefits of that, and how we should as employees and companies continue to drive that change.
Nate, thank you. And I have to tell you that teaching organizational change the many times that I have is I know one thing's for sure, because the research shows technology is the #1 driver of change, and it's going to continue to change. So we need to continue to adjust. And thank you so much for being here, and great answer. Brandy, back to you. All right. Let's talk about the process that you gave me. You gave me a slide where you had quality management in the middle and you had customer focused leadership, those quality points. And you have one in here, relationship management. All right. Now, I just want to say one thing about you. I launched an event here with Chuck Muth, and you stepped right up as my colleague and friend, and you emceed the whole event. And it was absolutely fantastic, right? And I got that, I believe, because of this one-on-one relationship that we have, where we have this rapport and we serve and we're looking for the greater good in the students. So tell me, when you just with your presentation, can you tell us how important relationships are there for you to get a good, successful, quality outcome?
Absolutely. I think relationship management is absolutely critical. And I think we have to be, really careful that we don't get too caught up in, the quantitative metrics. And, I'm an accountant, so I absolutely love data analytics and I love the numbers, but I think we really have to remind ourselves all the time that every single student is an individual. They're not just a number, and we have to make sure that when we talk to them and that we communicate with them, that we remember that they're an individual and that we focus on building those relationships one individual at a time. That's, getting to know them, better understanding their needs, why they're here, what they're looking to get out of their their education and their journey here. And through doing that, I think we can build these positive relationships.
Brandy, thank you. And I can see that you move with quality in the back of your mind all the time. It's in the forefront. And our vision here at UAGC is to empower, support, enrich, and graduate every student. So we care. And Iris Lafferty presented that vision to us, and I know I've got it pinned up here in the front of my computer. If you see my eyes looking up, I always want that to be. And I think Mirage and Nate are two testimonials that here we go. We've got some talented students. Ahmad, can you talk a little bit about how you have bridged? I mean, you have so many relationships. You invited me in one year to present at a couple places. We've authored a couple times to get our short articles, but you have an amazing network. Okay. How does that work for you to improve quality and results?
Well, it goes back to what you said in the beginning. There's things that I know I don't know, right? So it's always a good idea to surround yourself with smarter people, because I know that, there are things that I specialize in, and there's things that I'm just familiar with, right? And I need to have a better grasp on. So it's always good to step outside your comfort zone and look for people that are excited about a topic that you may be excited about, but they may know more about it, that they specialize in it, and bring them into the fold, right? And look for ways to create synergies behind projects, behind programs, behind opportunities, so you can grow and your community grow. And that will eventually also help the students, because now you can bring that person in as a guest speaker. That person could be a great presenter and so forth, right? So it's always an opportunity to grow your network and figure out a way to bring that contribution back into the classroom.
Ahmad, thank you. And I have to tell you, I love that word synergy, the combined energy of both of us. And, together we achieve more. Team acronym. I've seen you in action doing it many times, and you've elevated my game at times to reach students and help. So thank you. And now I want to direct this next one to Cassie and Brian. And let's just talk a little bit about leadership. Maybe, for high quality. How do you develop leaders, on your team? How do you see that component? Is it on the job training? Is it one-on-one mentoring? What does that look like on your team?
I think with our team in particular, it really, developing leaders is kind of putting them, as you said, getting them outside of their comfort zone, but as well as providing people the opportunity to grow and learn and make mistakes and feel comfortable in an atmosphere where they understand that we're all working towards the same goal at the end. We want to give people responsibility, give them opportunities to grow within their role, and also make decisions that may impact their role as well as others, and take responsibility for them. I think having that opportunity to really expand your influence on the organization and the department as a whole, and kind of what processes are being put in place, how you can make adjustments, and really kind of building that network of connections that can kind of help support you with whatever direction is you want to go. I think that's kind of where we really focus on a very collaborative approach to individual growth, professional development, as well as the department collectively as a whole, kind of all working towards that same thing. So.
Absolutely great team approach, and together everybody achieves more. And then the other acronym that I remember, Brian, is came from John Maxwell. Be tolerant of everyone. We're all different. Encourage each other, acknowledge each other, but the key is be mindful that we need each other to deliver that end result, that end goal. And I've seen all of you do that again and again and again. Cassie, I don't know if you remember, back in 2012, I met you for the very first time. It was a psychology club or something, and I was on campus, and we were doing my first technology thing, right? And I was scared. I was sitting there, and I can't remember the professor's name, but I was going to talk on camera and be broadcast all the way out. And how did you lead me that day? How do you do wonderful coaching and leadership. So what are some of the principles you do with someone that might have a little fear, because Deming talks about drive out the fear. What are
You
some
know,
of your approaches?
I think, I try to live by this is communication is key, and I think always having a clear, open communication path with whoever it is you're working with is really going to be successful. So I think for leadership, I mean, I try to always have an open door and that collaborative approach, like Brian said, and just keeping that communication open, I think really helps, everybody feel more comfortable, and they know that, I'm there, and, we can talk through things.
Cassie, thank you. Thank you. And you set such a great tone. I want to direct this one to Nate and Mirage. Okay. When we look at, a system in place, and you both have wonderful experience in your on the job training, off the job training, and your academic learning and knowledge that you're gaining. It's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch a leader. And I've enjoyed just watching both of you progress. So in a supply chain system or a system in general, how do you break down some of the silos? That can be a barrier sometimes to positive change in a continuum. What types of things can management leadership do to make sure things go smooth? Because any change continuum could be long, it could be short, right? And some of these changes could take a couple of years if they're transformational, right? For everything to get in place. But what do you recommend that an organization is doing, or a department's doing, if it's a transitional change, to break down those silos and drive out fear? What are some recommendations you have?
Systems are one of my passion. I love systems. So this is a perfect question for me. Ideally, you would like to have all of the leadership on the same page, especially if these are the people that are going to be transitioning with a team through these changes, or facilitating a team through these changes. You want to make sure that everybody has the same priorities, and that everyone recognizes, okay, these are our milestones, these are our goals, this is what we are trying to achieve with these changes. And once you recognize those things, it's easier to go through your processes that you're maybe trying to improve, and say, okay, what fits into what box? Everything isn't going to fit neatly into one, but if you can categorize most of those things, then it's much easier for you to forecast where you need to be placing your energies as far as how X affects Y, and so forth, so on and so forth.
Absolutely outstanding. I love the way you take the bigger picture, break it down into chunks. Chunking is an active learning technique. I used to tell my students, don't get overwhelmed. Just take the chunks you can use for right now, and over time we'll learn more. But apply what you learn, it'll be retained more. Boy, you're really you've got some outstanding on the job training and off the job training and UAGC training and knowledge. So
I think that's a big part of where active learning comes into place, is as you start to implement those things, you'll learn, okay, this works a bit better than we thought it would, or this didn't work as great as we thought it would. So continuing to just check in with each other, active learning, and that's one of the quality management, principles as well.
Absolutely fantastic. Teresa Couric, I hope she hears this, because she will love that, applying the theory. Nice work. Nate, how about you on that same question?
Yeah, so some things that I've seen, in my experience, what we've done is with my employer, we've taken some of our staff meetings and actually host others from other departments, and so that they can, one, get experience presenting and talking about projects that they're working on, and that kind of seems like it breaks that barrier of silo work. So you get someone from tech ops that is speaking to folks in a supply chain network, or a marketing team, and just terminology that they use. At least it kind of gets everyone familiar with some terminology, some things that maybe they don't deal with day to day, but just something in conversation that they can hear, and it kind of triggers their memory on some presentation that they received in one of their staff meetings. And I'd say, Bill, another thing is, as simple as it may sound, is just team building kind of exercises. Maybe even get away from the actual work and the actual grind, and just building relationships and becoming familiar with each other throughout companies, and that kind of seems like it makes the teams gel a little bit better, and that you get to know other people, and you're freely, asking questions and understanding other parts of the department that otherwise you may not be aware of.
Absolutely outstanding. And I could tell, listening to you and seeing you present before, you can see those dynamics within the organization. That is very good to have those observational skills and to understand what's around you, not only from a process and people and so forth. So, and that's all part of Deming too. So great job. Sarah and Rich. Now I'm going to direct this one first to Sarah, then we'll go to Rich. Same kind of question. What do you do to remove the fear and break down the silos? Because Sarah, I just have to share one quick story, just a few seconds, is that I've been a Proud Deal board member, and I've had the pleasure and privilege to work with you and Rich, and you're just outstanding leaders, and you've elevated me in terms of the Deal organization. So I appreciate you both. Now, the question I have is many times I'd come to you, well, you're going to answer that question, but Sarah, many times I'd come to you and say, we're going to change. And I might be a little impetuous and want it to happen a little too fast or whatever. And you would say, well, we're not there yet. We're just kind of in the messy middle, and I really love that metaphor and how you describe that. But can you tell us, you and Rich, how do you drive out fear? How do you break down silos when you're changing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I just love the messy middle, because I think one of the things that you can do to really drive out fear in change is to just acknowledge that it's there. And just to acknowledge that we're in the middle of a change process. Things are messy. We don't really know where it's going. We know where we hope it's going. We know where we've been. But this isn't going according to plan because things are changing. We're not following our normal patterns, and acknowledging that, giving space to that, I think is really important. That acknowledgement piece is sometimes all you really need in order to remove fear. Let's just say, yeah, that's the way it is.
Very
and
nice.
We're moving forward anyway.
Very nice. And you're doing something Cassie said, and that's communicating. And it's so important how you communicate, tact, where you say it, how you say it, who you say it to. I mean, just absolutely perfect tone. And I did have, to Cassie's point too, as she said earlier, the thing that I remember teaching on campus in Iowa one time, and I had a student in an operations management course, and she said to me, doesn't it all just come down to communication? Of course, it's much more than that, right? But whatever your plans are, you got to be able to communicate, right? You got to be able to relate. You got to be able to make sure that people see where you're going. Rich, how will you answer that question that Sarah was just asked on driving out the fear, breaking down the silos?
Absolutely. I'd like to touch on just the acknowledgement of change. One thing that profoundly benefited me was recognizing that with change, the idea of the change cycle, and also recognizing that there's loss. Even if this is changed towards the better, there's still something that we were holding on to. Maybe it's a routine or a way that I know how to do something, or some sort of pre-existing relationship that change. It changes that, and just that we have to acknowledge that there is that sense of loss, no matter how exciting is at the end of the tunnel, or how muddy that middle could be. And I'm reminded of the Deming point of constancy of purpose. Even in the midst of change, there's still that constancy of purpose of what we're aiming for. Bill, as you were mentioning with UAGC's principle, kind of culminating in that graduate every student. Obviously, any institution, UAGC, no exception, there's going to be change that's going to happen. There was a big one, institutionally title-wise that came up, but there's still that purpose of graduating every student. That's powerful, and that everything that this institution is existing towards is getting people graduated, and that's amazing. I think of where Sarah and I and Bill, where we hold leadership positions in the Association for Distance Education and Independent Learning. Our constancy of purpose is that we are looking to provide professional development opportunities, and we're providing opportunities for people engaged with distance education, independent learning, give them chances to engage, and just no matter what is different that's happening, there's still that goal. And even if we're not sure how we're going to get there, there is that common theme that we're all striving towards, that unifies us.
Absolutely. And, I really love the point how vision, I always believe in strategic planning. And even when I'd go to new locations in my past career, that I wanted everyone to see where I'm going. visionary leadership. Here's where we're going, and to involve them in the process and make sure that they were valued. And you do such a great job with that, Rich. I mean, I've listened to you and many times in the projects and initiatives we had. Brandy, how important is leading with vision for you? You're going, you're an accountant, you're a CPA, you've got so much experience building these courses, and you're dealing with a different people and students and so forth. How do you communicate your vision of what you want? How do you inspire and improve with your vision?
Well, I think one thing that I do is, I try to continually communicate that vision to the students. My vision for all of them is to move forward in their careers in whatever capacity that means for them. For accounting and finance students, some of them are looking to enter the field, some are looking to advance into those, executive level financial roles. Some of them are looking to start their own firms. Whatever their career ambitions are, I want us to focus on those from the beginning, because if they can always keep that why in mind, why am I doing this? Why am I working towards that? Then I think it makes everything that they do in the classroom meaningful.
And Brandy, they're watching you, from an act of learning. I mean, we might not be conscious of that, but the point is, you are doing the I do, we do, you do, teaching method. And I believe that's Barbara Rogoff, and who's created that theory. But the thing is that you're leading by example. And I think your vision and your words mean us more than to students. So just absolutely fantastic job. Let's go back up here to Dr. Amata. Is he still here? He might have had to jump off. I'm not sure.
He just jumped off.
Okay. Then let's go up here to Brian and Cassie, and let's just talk a little bit about how do you drive out some of that fear? When you're leading for students, how does your vision, how does your communication, with a new philosophy or change, how important is that in your process? Because Brian, systems inside out, and I've been around you many times, but you're obviously going to deal with people that might not know it to the level you do, like myself. So how do you approach people to make sure they see what you're trying to communicate, or what you're trying to do?
I think it starts with why. Like, where are we going? What's the end goal here? Why are we making the change? What's the overall objective, as well as impact on each person? For us specifically, we just went through a pretty major faculty compensation structure change, which introduced a lot of unique challenges and opportunities for us with regards to communication and training, and getting people to understand the complexities associated with how compensation is now being calculated, how we're communicating it out. It's a completely different re-envisioning of compensation than what it was previously. So it's been, we're holding office hours every week. We're communicating additional timelines and things, and really trying to be as transparent as possible with kind of what that looks like and the impact it has on each individual. And I think that's kind of been our focus throughout this entire thing, is really just, where are we going? Why are we doing it? And how can we make that transition as smooth as possible for every stakeholder that's invested in it? So
absolutely wonderful, just wonderful. And there's that I do, we do, you do. You're leading by example. You're showing us the way. So just absolutely fantastic. Cassie?
Yeah, I would just add to that we really try to be inclusive and include, really have, like I said earlier, have that collaborative approach. And I think that has really helped, because it gives the faculty and staff a voice in what we're developing. And I think that's been, a huge success for us. And it's really guiding us to build the perfect system for our end users, right? So I think that's super important. And another thing that we try to do is, and Bill, you know this, I think to go towards what is or most comfortable for the person, right? So Bill, you sometimes like personalized like walkthroughs and training and stuff like that. And I think being able to adapt to that is really been successful for us, because we can give, live trainings or webinars, and that's not always the best way for people to learn. So sometimes people need that, extra assistance or extra guidance and that one-on-one walkthrough. So we try to be open to that. And again, it goes back to communication and kind of making sure that you are communicating that to them and that they know that they can come to you.
Well, thank you. And let's do, I know we're headed to the end, Connie. I just got one quick question, lightning round for all of them. Here we go. Last round. Mirage. Let's start with Nate. Nate, how important to you, these can be short answers, how important to you is continuous improvement and on-the-job training? I've always lived that with total quality management in my early career. And when we would do that, we implement different programs and just tune up some strengths, fine tune or develop a new skill. But what does that mean to you? Continuous improvement on the job training. You got you're muted. There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would say, on the job training is very important. A lot of times, when you're out, in the job search, there's a lot of, required knowledge already needed. But I feel like, anytime you can get involved in whether it's, your personal role or even something that's outside of your department or your expertise, and I've learned that personally too. If you don't necessarily are getting the training that you're needing or wanting, volunteer for projects, take part in special things that are outside of your wheelhouse in your department and learn from those things. And they'll quickly add up to some experiences and some things that would bow well with your personal career path.
Absolutely outstanding. Mirage, real quick, how about you?
Continual improvement is my default setting at work. So once I learn how to do something, I'm automatically, how can we make this better? Not just for myself, but for others, because I know that I'm not working in a vacuum. So everything that I do feeds into the larger system as a whole. So not only am I looking for how can I continuously improve myself and make my job more efficient, faster, less redundant, but how can I transition that into the larger system as a whole? And I've been fortunate to be able to develop a reputation for that in my career as being the person that's going to come in. I'm very good at, we can improve this, and here are solutions to get it done. So I personally love continual improvement. I think it's everything.
Well, thank you. Very, very nice. Brandy, real quick, continuous improvement on a job training. How important is it to you and your team?
Innovation is absolutely critical. No organization is going to survive without constant innovation. It has to drive everything that we do, whether it means setting clearer objectives, getting there faster, or just doing things more efficiently, serving our customers better. Innovation has to be at the heart of everything we do.
Fantastic. Brian, final comments?
I mean, I obviously agree with what everyone else is saying here. I think that the continuous improvement cycle is one of the most necessary foundational pieces for an organization to succeed long term. I think if you aren't looking for opportunities in reevaluating processes and strategies that have worked in the past, they might not work in the future. I mean, we can all name a million companies that have gone away, like Blockbuster Video, who didn't want to evolve. And the only reason they did Blockbuster Online is because Netflix wouldn't, they didn't want to buy Netflix. And all these things you can look back and just laugh at. But at the time, it seemed, kind of ridiculous to pay $50 million to own Netflix.
Yeah, sometimes some hubris-born success. It happens.
You're either gonna continue to look for opportunities and evolve as an organization and grow, or you're gonna die, and that's kind of the nature of the beast in the end.
Absolutely. Final word, Rich and Cassie. Rich, how about you?
When we focus on continuous improvement, we give more opportunities for growth and the potential that someone brings. Someone may not be an A+ student or an A+ worker their first day of work. The idea is that they're going to learn, they're going to improve, they're going to grow.
Thank you, Rich. Cassie, final word.
Yep, and I just add onto what everybody else said is you have to be able to adjust to change. Change is going to happen; it's inevitable. So, continuous improvement is just that adapting to change.
Fantastic. I'm clap for all of you. Thank you. This was an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. And thanks for everything you shared with everybody here and in Hoover in our app. So thank you. Connie, back to you. I'm sorry if we ran kind of close.
The merits for all of you. No, not really. You did a great job. Thanks for a great discussion. I have just a couple takeaways here. I love the premise that keeping the focus on why helps to develop collaboration. And that's very important when you're trying to do anything, any type of change, any type of momentum, you have to be collaborative. And continuous improvement keeps us pertinent and current. And that's where we fail sometimes. We get this real pretty thing and we don't want to touch it because it's real pretty, but it's not pertinent anymore. So thank you, panel. You had a great conversation. And thank you, Bill Davis, for leading this discussion. Thank you, audience, for participating. We love all of you. And we encourage you to attend the keynote presentation. Please enjoy the rest of the TLC. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Connie. Thanks, Bill.